minutes unless you're giving testimony up here. Let's see. All right. So I'm Cindy Simpson, Mayor of the Town of Mancos, and I hereby call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for February 11, 2026. The time is a little after 6. And first, I would like everybody to rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Cindy Simpson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brent McWhorter. Trustee Nick Manning.
Here.
Trustee David Payne. Trustee Andreas Esparza.
Here.
Trustee Corey DeBoer.
Here.
Trustee Daniel Manning.
Here.
Okay. And next we have approval of the agenda. And just so everybody's aware, we have a consent agenda, which has our minutes, our bills and claims, and a Region 9 update. If we can keep the kiddos quiet, that'd be great, because this is also going to be a YouTube, so we want to make sure that people later and tonight can hear the meeting. Thank you. And then under discussion and action items, we're going to be talking about Resolution 6, Series 2026, cancellation of municipal election. And then we have Millie's economic development incentives discussion and probable action. And then town values regarding law enforcement, which is discussion and possibly action. So that's what we're looking at. I would entertain a motion in a second.
I'm going to move that we table the Millie's discussion for another time. So first, to the business owner, I know here tonight, I appreciate the investment that you're putting into our community. My concern is not with the project, it's with the town's policy. There's policy deficiencies that I think we need to resolve. Just quickly, to not get too far off topic, we rely on a case-by-case review. That's terrible. Rather than objective and predefined criteria, source CML guidance, caution against case-by-case reactive type of stuff like that. The policy requires a business to pay a livable wage, and then when you look at the Region 9 document, it contains multiple wage levels. It's not clear if you're supposed to pay somebody $17.22 an hour, or if they have a preschool kid, if you're supposed to pay $30. That's not clearly defined. And I mean, there's more. If I would need to convince you all that it would be appropriate, I could go into more, but I think that we're not in a position to have that discussion. We don't have objective criteria. We don't have any clawbacks. There's a lot of stuff that's clearly defined. As I'm going through the policy, I don't know what I would be doing as a business owner if I were looking at this, and that's a problem I think we need to address before we enter into any new business incentive agreements. So I would make a motion to table that for another time.
All right. Do we have a second?
I guess what more information are you looking for?
The business incentive policy needs to be revised, in my opinion, case by case. Imagine if somebody walked into my mortgage business and I charged one person $5,000 to do their loan, and I charged somebody else $3,000 because I liked them and I appreciated them. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the same type of stuff we're talking about, equal protections under the law, equal access to government. Mm-hmm. So that's my main concern, and it's a pretty big concern.
Even with the qualifications and grant criteria as they're spelled out, you don't feel like that holds it. It needs more, is what I'm hearing.
Well, a lot of it needs more. We've got separated off some of those stuff, but there's, the livable wage is a real good example. Mm-hmm. do I have to pay a non-parent, can I pay a non-parent less than a parent, essentially? It's like setting up some kind of perverse incentive to pay non-parent, or to hire non-parents.
Yeah.
Like that's how it reads.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Sure.
like, yes, like I have really big reservations about that policy. It needs to be
Yeah.
revised.
Here's the thing though, it is our policy. And because it's our policy, when they applied, the existing policy applies to this application.
Okay.
So I think that's a great discussion.
Well, I have a response to that.
Okay, sure.
We're missing items. We received the 4 bullet point items. We're not sent in the initial packet. We didn't get them until yesterday, so didn't really have time to review them. But also, there's a requirement in the current policy that we get 2 bids for work, and then we get to pick the lower one.
Yeah.
And that's before work's completed. It's my understanding work has been completed. So under that current policy, it doesn't seem like it would be a favorable review because we're missing information, and that would be another reason to table a discussion to give us time to actually review the documents that we received on Tuesday.
Hang on, Heather. Yeah, I'm going to let Heather speak, and we're hoping that people can hear.
I don't mean to interrupt the discussion, but right now you guys are approving the agenda.
Yeah.
So you can approve the agenda as written, and then you can have this discussion during that item, and the board can either vote yes, vote no, or vote to table and request more information.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to cut you guys off. I don't like it, but
No, it's a
we're
good
just
point. We're
approving
getting
the
into
agenda
the
at
weeds
this
of
point.
it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we have a motion, and we'll see if we have a second, and if we do, then
Well, I can withdraw my motion if you just
Oh,
want
okay.
to talk about it. And
Okay.
I mean, it just seems like something that we got a policy to
It seems
address,
like
so-
there's a lot. Maybe we should, I think you're right, because there's two, it seems like there's like this application and there's future stuff. Maybe during discussion, we can have a more robust conversation.
Well, that's why I
Yeah.
thought removing it would
Totally.
make more sense, because it is a very large discussion.
Yeah, I agree. So,
Okay. So you withdraw your motion.
Sure, yeah, I'll withdraw my motion. We're gonna,
Okay.
we can just discuss it during the agenda.
makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
Thanks, Sam.
Perfect. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate that. Thank you, Heather. Always keeping us on target. All right, so I would entertain a new motion and second.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and 2 seconds.
From Andreas and Corey.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So we're moving on to our audience business portion. Senate Bill 24-131 prohibits firearms in public buildings with the exception of law enforcement. All people wishing to address the board shall do so from the podium provided in the boardroom, and all comments will be directed to the board, not to the audience. And public comments regarding items not on the agenda shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, unless part of a formal presentation that we've placed on the agenda. And then public comments regarding public hearing items on the agenda will be limited to 3 minutes per person at the time the item comes up on the agenda. Special presentations of items not on the agenda shall be limited to 5 minutes. The board will appoint a timekeeper. It's going to be Nick. All people from the podium shall clearly and audibly state their name, physical address, and the town business topic they wish to speak about prior to speaking. Got dry mouth, sorry. No person shall be allowed to speak until recognized by the mayor. Requests to the board to accept written information shall be accepted at that time. No action will be taken at the meeting on the public comment items because we don't take action on things that are not on our agenda. Written information accepted at the meeting shall be provided in the board packet for the next meeting if necessary. All right, so having said all of that, actually, I'm going to jump to Mark because he's got it dialed in, and that way you can head home.
Is that you guys are gonna hold off on stuff you're running.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Good evening, respected trustees and honorable mayor. My name is Mark Worth. I live at 10750 Road 43, the location where you're settling ponds, river diversion, and where you're about to rebuild 1.5 mile of pipeline across my property. I'm here to ask the trustees to honor the 1960 agreement allowing for the use of our land and for the town's diversion, settling ponds, and pipeline for the town's raw water. I see we are back where we started. Again, the town has applied for and received grants to spend public funds for a project on land you do not have a valid easement on. You were in breach of that easement because you were unwilling to honor the agreement to provide a second raw water tap as called out. I strongly suspect that the granting agencies are unaware of or have been misled as to your breach of the easement for a pipeline across my property. I also suspect that no one mentioned to them, or even to you, that the ditch for the pipeline replacement runs hundreds of feet through the center of a wetland. Can we create an easement to go around the wetland? Apparently not, since someone doesn't like me. The town employees are driving onto our land every day and using 1 acre of it for settling ponds. And yet you refuse to compensate us with a 3/4 inch tap like the other landowners whose land you are about to dig up along that pipeline. We could work out an agreement to preserve the wetlands. We could work around them, or we could at least minimize the impact on the wetlands with a small deviation in the pipeline location. For one lousy 3/4 inch raw water tap, you guys are going to trash those wetlands because you don't like them. This is asinine. Thank you for your time.
thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Did anyone sign up to speak that's got something else that's not on the agenda tonight? Okie dokie. All right. Next item is Montezuma County Commissioner update. Gerald is not here, so we will move on to announcements. Heather, do you have any?
I do not have any announcements this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody up here?
No.
Nothing? Okay. So moving on, I would entertain a motion and a second for our consent agenda items.
If we had a question on bills and claims, we pull that out.
Yep, sure.
It's just one quick question.
Okay.
What page are you looking at?
Page 7.
7.
That's where it
Yeah.
starts, yeah.
Okay, what's the question?
$15,855 green laptop to NetForce PC. Just curious. What's a $15,000 laptop?
Is that page 2 or page 1? Daniel, where are you? Page 1
Yeah,
or page
tell us
2?
where you're at.
Page 8 of the packet.
Oh, page
Top.
2, second line.
line.
Yep.
So Heather, did you hear that?
I did page 2, line 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
correct.
130 charge.
So green laptop, 15,855.77.
Yes.
Could we get a little explanation on that? Because that seems like a lot for one laptop.
Is it one laptop?
That is I believe, that's the first line of a compilation. We did a ton of work to board and planning commission laptops. We ordered 2 new laptops for the marshals, the new marshal employees. So that is actually not just one laptop. It is our equipment replacement schedule for NetForce for 2026.
Okay. Does
Consolidated charge.
that help?
Makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good catch.
Good catch.
Bulk items, thank you. All right. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I will look for a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving along. Thanks, guys. All right, so next item up is Resolution 6, Series 2026, cancellation of municipal election. I gotta tear this page off, that's gonna drive me nuts. All right, so we have,
Page 35.
it's
That's a
like,
lot.
oh my God,
That's a lot.
there's so many pages. Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, since Heather is out of town tonight, she is on the phone. Heather is our administrator. So I'm just going to kind of run through the staff reports like Heather normally would, just so that people can hear fully. The way we have Heather positioned down here on my phone is right into a microphone, so the YouTube video will pick up on her comments, but it doesn't broadcast very well in the room. So on this item, the recommendation is that we move to approve Resolution 6, Series 2026, a resolution authorizing the town clerk to cancel the April 7, 2026 municipal election. And the reason for that is we have 3 vacant trustee seats, and we received 3 valid nomination petitions from Ed Helm, Corey Jabor, and Max Loving. And so they don't have to run for office, they can walk. So they're all automatically deemed elected. So congratulations, everyone. The timing doesn't change, though. The ballot question regarding sales tax, which was also to be on the ballot, was we'll place it on the November ballot. Coordinated election with Montezuma County. It'll save us about $10,000 to $15,000 doing it this way. So that is awesome. We won't be having to take that out of our general fund. Anybody have any questions, comments? Hope you don't. All right, so I would entertain a motion and a second.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 6, Series 2026, a resolution authorizing the town clerk to cancel the April 7th, 2026 municipal election.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Trustee McManning.
Aye.
Trustee David Payne.
Aye.
Trustee Andres Esparza.
Aye.
Trustee Corey DeBoer.
Aye.
Trustee Daniel Lee.
Aye.
All right, next up is Millie's Economic Development Incentives, and the recommendation is to move to approve the economic development incentives for the new business Millie's with the condition that they remain in continuous business for 12 months from the date of opening and hire and retain 3 to 5 full-time employees. And what they're requesting, and before we dive into like super detailed, I'm going to ask Heather to speak on what of these items or submittals she has the authority and what we need to talk about and do. Okay, so there's a rebate request for 25% of property tax revenue for 2 years from the date of opening. Rebate 25% of sales tax revenue for 2 years from the date of opening. Waive the $65 sign permit fee. Waive the $30 business license fee. and refund $1,000 toward facade improvements. Daniel, first I want to say thank you for catching that we needed those items. This is our first application that we have for this. So this is a really good time to kind of check our policy and what do we think works and doesn't work. But just to remember that because they, in good faith, applied, we do need to apply the existing incentives program for this one, but definitely track some potential changes. So Heather, thank you for responding to Daniel's request and getting all of us the additional information. It was nice to see the comprehensive picture, but do go into some detail on which things you can approve, like it's under your authority, and then which things we're looking at.
Okay, so I also want to apologize for the confusion. Sonia submitted, and I believe she may be there tonight. So when I'm done, if you guys have questions, I believe she's there to answer them for you. Excuse me, historically, we haven't received a request for property or sales tax rebates ever. The town administrator, myself and my predecessor, have approved the facade grant request for $1,000, reviewed and approved as necessary or appropriate. We have waived sign permit fees for new businesses, and we have waived business license application fees for new businesses as an economic development incentive. I wanted you all to see the entire picture of the business, so I put everything in one staff report to you all, and I do apologize. I was trying to be comprehensive, and I think I caused confusion. I am happy to approve the standard items that town administrators have approved in the past this time, and then defer to whatever the board wishes moving forward, if that's how you wish to go. The board does need to approve. It is required that the board approve property and sales tax rebates. Town administrator does not have the authority to make that decision. So I hope this clarifies for you all and makes your discussion tonight easier. But I do understand that there may, since this is the first time we're applying this, in real life, boots on the ground, it may need some tweaking moving forward.
Okay, so just for clarification, we're required to make the decision, right? This isn't
regarding property and sales tax rebates. Yes,
we're not required
everything
to approve
else.
it.
That's correct. Everything else you can defer to me if you choose.
Okay.
Historically, I've reviewed those.
Yeah, and I like that because then it stays consistent. Okay, I just want to make it clear that because I know on liquor licenses and things like that, like if they meet the criteria, we're required to approve, but this, we're just required to make the decision.
That is correct. On this, you have discretion. If you would like more information, you can request it and we will bring it back at a future meeting. If you approve it, staff will move forward. If you deny it, staff will move forward and notify the applicant.
Okay. Sweet. Would the applicant like to come up to the podium? Got a couple questions for you.
The facade improvement document, that's page 44. The MIP, Mancus Improvement Program. Is that right?
Yes, and that's one of Heather's,
Thank you.
if we so wish.
The
Yeah.
money grant.
Okay. Hi. Go ahead and state your name and physical address for the record, please.
My name is Sonia Vincent. My physical address is 225 Elevita Court, Durango, Colorado, 81301.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to kick us off here. I have a couple of questions I wanted to ask because they'll directly impact the two things that we're gonna talk about is sales tax and property tax. And so that in our application and everything and our decision making and how our town administrator applies this application is and the rebates is based on the number of employees and how many new employees versus ones that come over from the MBAR like they're already employed, because it's all based on job creation, not just moving people around. So having said all of that, in the documents that we received, in some places it says 2 part-time, 3 full-time, and in other places it says 2 and 2.
Yep.
Can you help
I
us
can
with that?
clarify on there, but part of that comes from the 2 and 2 is on our projected P&L, which is kind of a starting point for us to understand where we're gonna year one we're gonna be at to be able to make money. But we are also not only opening as a cafe, coffee shop, restaurant, we are going to be also doing catering. So we are going to be having employees for these catering jobs as well. Some of this is going to be seasonally, some of it's going to be job-based. So for us, it's a little bit hard to say exactly how many part-time and full-time employees we'll have in total, especially going into year one of a new business. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, and especially here in our little town. So yeah, we have a lot of hope to hire up to 3 full-time employees, but we're just not exactly sure if that's going to be 2 or 3 in that first year.
Okay. Next question is, how many of those are going to be moving over from MBAR, and how many are going to be like newly hired people?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have a good answer for that at this point in time. We have maybe 1 employee that's expressed interest in coming over, but it's not a definite. So at this point in time, it will mostly be new employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I just for clarification, it is a time-bound thing. And so like 12 months from the day that you open the doors, we're going to be, if we approve it, your request, we'll be calculating it based on how many employees you have at that time.
Yes.
Because there's different levels.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that, and that's partly why we are planning to open in the spring so that we can open in busy season and really get a good gauge on what business will look like moving forward. Yep.
All right. Okay, so any other questions?
Do you have a clear understanding on what you have to pay somebody per hour?
I do, yes. Yeah, I have been, owning multiple businesses.
I mean for the incentive.
For the living wage, yes.
And what number did you come up with?
I am going off of the 1744.22 number at this point in time, which is always been the tier that I've worked off of for all of my other businesses in the past as well, where we've had 100 plus employees and things of that nature, and that has always kind of satisfied the need of a living wage.
But you kind of made the assumption when you looked at the document, right? I'm using 17, not 30, not
Correct.
$20
Yeah, I
and
mean,
42 cents.
And you're right. It is confusing because there's many different categories of if someone has a kid, and it's hard because you also can't ask these questions in interviews.
Right. It's a 23-page document that you have to absorb yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. So it's a little. Maybe we could simplify that.
Yeah. But that is through Region 9, correct?
Yes,
and
correct.
Not through the town of Mancos?
Well, no, we could clarify in our policy.
Sure.
Single adult column is the one you use.
Yeah,
100%.
that would be
right.
helpful.
Then you wouldn't, as you said, it was confusing. That was just the point that I was trying to get at for an applicant. It's not clear what you're reading. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Sure.
And then another thing, all of this would be avoided with a single document with predefined criteria. You create an employee for this long, you get this rebate. We're not giving this person 1 year, this person 2 years, this person 3 years, because this person's a friend of the town, but this person's not. Right? So that's where my concerns are all tied up in this differential treatment. Is we're setting up a framework for treating people differently instead of, on subjective criteria, not objective criteria. We can measure and we can define and track and audit, right? And if we're going to go back and audit and we're going to say at the end of 12 months, we're coming back and we're saying, well, we're doing it with payroll or whatever we're doing it with, that should also be clearly defined so the business owner knows what documents am I preparing for the end of the year? What does the town need? Am I going to get this incentive? Can I plan that into my budget or not? So there's just so much missing from this policy. I don't know how we can operate inside of it. And I would love to, incentivize your business. I'm fully on board with incentivizing our businesses, but doing it in an objective way that's neutral based on criteria that is not made up on the spot. It's not reactive. This is a negotiation process. It's not an incentive process. This is a negotiation. I don't think we should be doing that. I think all the guidance I've read from CML and CIRSA, this is reactive. This is interventionist. This is not broad policy setting, forward-looking, setting a policy for everybody. And I think that's what we need to do before we can approve an incentive application. And if we did want to review it under this policy, then we also have some other things to consider, like the improvement program says the building needs to look deteriorated. That's one of the bullet points. That building does not look like it's deteriorating. So if we don't want these things to, so I'm confused. We got policy. I'm reading it. I'm trying to follow it. And so I guess that's what I'm asking. Are we following policy, or what are we doing here? That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and so rock and hard place, right? Because it's on the books. We have to deal with it as is for this application, unless the applicant withdraws. But it's going to take us a while to work through whatever issues, and so yeah, it's a tricky thing. We might just have to fly with it this time. Anything else, Dan?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more, but
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
We're either following policy or we're not.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Corey, any comments?
Not on that. I do have a question. Just looking at the license application. So it's checked as a new business commercial, and then when you go down, it says that the food establishments must attach a current Colorado retail food service license, and it says transferring from MBAR in the spring. So is it another business license, a new business, or is it a location change and a name change, but it's the same license?
It will be fully a new business, new EIN, all of that stuff. The reason I write that is because I spoke to the Montezuma County Health Inspector and asked her if it would be okay from a financial perspective to be able to transfer our current food license, because your food license is only good for like January to December. And so we had to renew ours in January at, and they just raised the prices to, it was like almost $350, which was kind of hefty for us to take that on for such a short time, because we'll be closing down MBAR when we open Millie's. So I asked her if she would consider just transferring our license at the time that we open the new business, and she was open to allowing us to do that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
When did construction start? When did construction start on the capital improvements?
It was about the second week of December.
Okay.
No, I think you raised some good points about revisiting the policy. We have issues with it, but as it's written right here, I don't have any more questions beyond what you've mentioned.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Nick?
No, ditto. I think it's the first time I've ever seen this. I don't know, when was this?
It was when it was like, when Rachel Marchbanks was
Yeah, so this is
the,
like 5-6 years ago.
yeah,
Okay.
the economic development coordinator.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with you. Just on basic principle now, Daniel, we don't want to have any room for favoritism. It should be extremely black and white on a policy. But yeah, that said, I feel like, we're obligated to apply the conditions with which they applied into and not change it on them in the spot. So I see two paths. One is to deny it and ask them to reapply after we've had a chance to review, which feels a little bit harsh. And the second one is to take it as is. And I don't see any issues with the as is application.
I would add on to the as is, the second option, then revisiting the policy afterwards.
Well, yeah, totally. As a second, second piece is to sort this out.
Okay. David, any questions for the applicant?
I do not have any.
Okay. Heather, did you want to jump in with any other information that might help us?
Excuse me. I would say that historically, staff has been encouraged to to review applications with an eye to granting economic development incentives whenever possible. We don't, want to blow our code or our procedures out of the water. But past boards, and I do apologize, so we can change it if we need to. Past boards, grants, DOLA, that kind of thing, have encouraged us to err on the side of caution. If we are unsure, we're encouraged to rule in favor of the applicant and then tighten things up as we go. Mm-hmm. So that is how I reviewed this application. And I am happy, like I said, happy to change anything moving forward. And I do apologize if that caused any confusion. So I would encourage us to do what we can because this business is at a key location in town. Mm-hmm. And having it empty when the original business in that location went out of business, it affected our sales tax base. When Live Well went out of business, it affected our sales tax base. So having that business and that building active, it doesn't just bring in sales tax. It increases energy at that corner, mm-hmm. which allows people driving by to know that there is something here. There is a town here. There is a place here. Agreed. So it's a bit of a broader discussion that I'm happy to have with you all, but that is how I reviewed the application. That's what I was thinking when I reviewed the facade, sign, and business license applications.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Any questions for Heather?
So I do have one more thing that I'd like to say. So my concern is policy issues, right? So I just want to read this part of the policy to everybody. The Community and Economic Development Department will accept incentive applications only if, and the third bullet is must present the incentive proposal application prior to the beginning of construction and or renovation. So I'm concerned that we're setting precedents where we're not following policy that was already set by a previous board. So if construction began in December and we have to review this under this policy, which I would prefer not to, I would prefer to review it under a better policy, that we could open up things like that and say, yeah, you know what, it's a couple weeks late, but we still want to give you the incentive because that would be good for the town. That would serve the residents of the town. That would be of public interest. Yeah. So my concern is now we're talking about just going flat out against the policy. Said we'll only consider it if it's presented before construction begins. Mm-hmm. So I'm just reading a policy that was created before I was on this board and trying to follow it and wondering if that's a good idea, David, we should be setting precedent. David? Could you maybe ask about setting precedents for ignoring policies or doing something against the policy that we have set? Policy says only if, and then we're going to make a on-the-spot decision to go against that policy?
Yeah, I mean, my advice would be follow your policies and weigh the factors that are in the policy. but that's for the board to do.
Mhm.
I don't know all the facts about application, what was done on that.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Heather? Or David? Okay. All right, so, kind of sounds like, if I'm summing all this up correctly, because the renovations started before, applying, looks like we would be required to say no. Um, so that's a possibility. We could throw caution to the wind and approve it. We could also seek your permission to put it on hold until we review the policy and get it changed. I know it's hard when you're trying to open. So we're looking at a bunch of different alternatives here, and I just want to give you the opportunity to, what's your gut check?
I mean, I will say that yes, I realize we are late on submitting the application. Part of that is due to the fact that I didn't know it was there. I kind of stumbled across it when I was piddling around on the town website. So yeah, when I came across it, I was like, wow, this is really great. I have never heard of this before. I'm gonna try and go for it. So that's kind of where we're at now. And as I mentioned in my description, and as Heather said, we at Mesa Verde Motel have been very dedicated to trying to get more traffic off of our highway and into our town. And when the opportunity came available for this building, that was where I really went back and forth on it for a long time. And it was like, I need to do this. I need to bring this corner back to life, get more people, more traffic into our town. And so I do feel it's very important for the health of our town and our businesses. And it is not just solely for me and my businesses. I think there are many of us that want to catch these people at our stoplight and get them to come into town. So I did take on this project with very little money. So coming across this opportunity to be able to get some help from the town to revitalize the corner was a big goal of mine. So.
Okay. All right.
I
So
think we all like the idea too. Just wish it was presented to us in a way we could just make a decision on.
okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So when we make motions, I believe they need to be in positive, like a positive motion and a second, and then you can vote however you want. Is that true, David? As opposed to making a negative motion?
I don't know that, there's requirement either way.
Oh, okay.
I guess normally what I've seen is, if there's something for you, a resolution, say, and it fails for lack of a motion, then the resolution fails. I don't think you have to say, I oppose this resolution.
If it failed for lack of motion, would it be easier to bring it back?
I don't know. I don't think it matters. I mean, it would be a denial.
Or just deny it and bring it back?
Yeah,
I mean, I want to see it come back.
yeah. And then depending on how we look at the policy and change, then they may or may not be able to come back. So,
Well, I think, if we're looking for full-time employees, it can be a pretty simple policy that does what you think the intent of that policy is, but doesn't put in guardrails and tie in enough rules. And that's,
And in this, we can still defer the sign permit, business license fee, and the facade improvements, which historically has been handled by the town administrator. So really what we're discussing here is the tax incentive.
Right.
Property tax.
Sales tax.
Sales tax. So it's kind of a two-part.
Yeah.
I think we could modify it and move forward and defer that to what has historically been done. revisit our policy and get that squared away, and then
Yeah, so skip the tax
Revisit
rebates
this
tonight,
process.
approve the other stuff.
We'll put it back.
Something like that.
to Heather.
and I
Okay,
think we need to revisit that policy and fix it.
any further comment?
No, I think the date of construction kind of settled that part.
Okay,
Yeah, I would say, I think we do need to follow our policies. It puts us in a bad spot if we don't. I do think there's some ownership on the town's part. We have a 6-year-old policy that one person has applied to, and they found it stumbling through our website. And we don't have an economic development coordinator anymore. And what we need is jobs in town. We need, people need money.
Yeah.
So I just don't, I agree, Sonia, maybe I'm speaking to you, but, we need to get our ducks in a row and then come back on this particular piece. But I think the spirit of the policy is we want businesses, we want people who are providing livable wages, we want to promote growth, especially on the corner of Mancos. I think, I'll speak for myself, I don't like that building, I don't like the image it gives of people coming through town, and someone's willing to put in an investment and re-up that building, I think is a huge, just a massive win for the town. And so I agree with you, it sucks that it's down to kind of like a black and white policy thing, but it is. But I hope we can reorient this and show you that we are pro-business.
Yeah, no fault of the applicant at all. This is.
Yeah, it's not personal. None of this is tonight. So, I agree with what Corey said, is let's move forward what we can, put it back into the town administrator's hands, and then push the pieces aside that we need to review and reorient.
okay. David? Same? Okay. Well, then, I would entertain a motion that might be a lot.
A big motion.
And a second, what?
Wordsmithing.
Yeah.
It's a wordsmith.
Well, yeah, we want to be careful with the
Yeah,
12 months and the 3 to 5 employees now.
Right.
Like, in our motion.
Yeah, I'm not, and that hasn't, and Heather, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that hasn't been a criteria or a benchmark to be met for what she would normally do, right? As far as the sign permit, business license, facade stuff, that didn't have like anything attached to it, qualifier.
No.
So,
So we can cut those two off.
yes.
That we need to.
Yeah, so I'm sort of envisioning a motion that, reaffirms Heather's ability to make decisions on the 3 items, and then the tax items, however the person wants to make the motion on that.
Yeah.
We revisit.
So,
So it takes out the 12 months and the 3 to 5.
Well,
Right?
so
but I think it's important that we either approve or deny this request based on the policy that's in place now.
That's a good point. Yep.
It's not, because when you submit something, you're operating in good faith, that you're gonna be reviewed under the policy that you just read. So, and I caught the date thing as well, and I was like, uh-oh.
one more point, Cindy.
Yeah,
On the facade, qualifications and grant criteria, number 5, if requesting funding for exterior improvements or landscaping in a building must show significant wear.
mhm.
So
It's
we
so
should
subjective,
be
right?
out on
It's
the,
like, yeah.
we should be out on the, I mean, we gotta, if we wanna give people money to improve the facade of a beautiful looking building, maybe you don't like it, but it's in good shape.
Yeah.
It's in good repair, it's well
Sure.
maintained.
Sure.
And the improvement program, I thought the point was to help improve facades that needed improvement.
Well, that's getting into a very subjective.
Well,
is,
and I think
Because
that's,
what is
I think that's what he's
yeah,
trying to
and,
say.
and
is
that's
that
what
it's
Daniel's trying to say, I think.
subjective.
is-
where I'm going is, are we gonna push to define what significant wear is? Because we're gonna be getting into a lot of paperwork. to
Right,
define
and
what
that's,
criteria it
right,
is.
and that would be like part of that, we need to change this policy to make it make more sense.
Yeah.
And be a lot more black and white than touchy-feely. So, yeah,
Well, I mean, generally,
Exactly.
just, it's a reasonable test. It's, ask people on the street if they think the live well building's showing significant wear. Reasonable person is gonna say no.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna disagree with that statement.
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, well, so who wants to make the motion? Or do you want me to word it and somebody can say so moved?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, you want to put it together?
all right, I'll try.
You're good with words.
It's been a while.
You're good with words.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion that reaffirms our town administrator's authority to make decisions on the, gotta get way back to the, sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
On the sign permit fee waiver, the business license fee waiver, and the facade improvements refund, and deny the 25% property tax and sales tax revenues at this time.
With the condition that we'll revisit the policy? Do we need to say that?
That would be separate, I think, yeah.
So we are gonna include the facade?
Okay,
Yeah.
so moved.
Second.
Second?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor of that motion, will the clerk please call the vote?
1 second.
She's still trying to type down the
I was trying
mutterings.
to write down to make sure I got this.
That was
Right.
a mouthful, yeah.
That was a lot.
Trustee Nick Manning.
Aye.
Trustee David Payton.
Aye.
Trustee Andreas Esparza.
Aye.
Trustee Corey DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Daniel Henning.
Nay.
All right, thank you all very much. That was a headache. Okay, so, and then, I think that it seems like a consensus of the board that we want to make sure that we review this policy now that we've seen an application for it and make it make more sense. That being the case, we'll ask Heather
Yes.
to make sure that we get that on a workshop real soon.
I will
And-
schedule that for the next workshop.
Cool.
Very nice.
That is great. So we'll review this in a couple weeks and see if we can come up with something that makes more sense. All right. So that
Thanks for hanging in there.
passes. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
Now we can get to you all.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Okay. So next item is the town values regarding law enforcement. And so, get a swig of water here. So this item was discussed at the January 28th, 2026 board workshop at my request. During that discussion, we requested staff to bring additional information to the next board meeting for review, discussion, and possible decision. That's us here right now. So attached, we had some legal discussion information regarding federal law enforcement and what, if anything, local law enforcement can or should do. They are opinions only, and they are not binding legal advice. Prior to 2011, DOLA, and this is one of the kind of last second things that threw us off a little bit when we were talking about it. DOLA had sent a certificate of compliance to the town, which we were required to sign and submit in order to be eligible for any DOLA grant funding. And obviously they are a big grant funding agency. We're no longer required to execute that certificate. And so we did have a standard letter that the board issued every year. And Heather Heather's been here since 2008. And so due to the time that's elapsed, she couldn't find any more information on it for us, just a copy of that letter. And so there's anecdotal information that Heather has if we're interested in that. And she did include the actual letter. Discussion was held regarding a ban on law enforcement wearing masks. It's being discussed at various states at the state level. And I will throw in there that today or yesterday or something, California, it got thrown out, that they're not,
By a
yeah, by a federal judge. And so it may be moot at this point. So the town is limited. We have authority over our marshal's office. And I will throw out there that they need to wear masks when they're dealing with possible dead bodies. You know, if there's a wellness check, we don't know if that person has some sort of disease. You know, so there are good reasons to wear masks, and we may, if we proceed with that portion of this overall discussion, we may be creating a policy like we just talked about, where we don't know what's going to come up, and you know, so having to put a specific list of instances where our marshal's office can wear masks, it may be odd and difficult. And of course, we don't have any authority over county, other municipalities, the state or federal agencies. And I'm just going to say it broadly because it is a broad thing. And so Heather says here she's not inclined to support a ban for the marshal's office. And she says, I do not think that a statement from the board supporting or opposing a ban for any other agencies would necessarily impact our policies, reputation, or ability to receive grants. So if we wanted to, you know, kind of do a performative thing, we could, and it probably wouldn't affect our ability to get grants. If the board wishes to consider a ban on marshal's office employees wearing masks, please also include language regarding hiding identity or something similar. And so that would potentially be a way around the when is it acceptable to wear a mask. We could just say, you know, they're not eligible to wear masks when for the sole purpose of hiding identity, or something similar to that. And we might also want to consider exemption language, as I mentioned before, another public health pandemic, drug investigations. You know, we don't want them walking in a meth house with, you know, meth lab with no PPE on, and you know, and other threats to staff health. And the consensus of the board during the workshop was to issue a press release focusing on town values rather than discussion opposing or supporting outside law enforcement activities. And attached is a very rough draft of language for our review and consideration. And David may have something, you know, to add to it. Heather is on the phone. So Heather, you made mention that you have some anecdotal information on that letter.
Yes, I searched statute and I am not able to find the old statute, code statute, or DOLA policy that required that, not required, that required the certificate of compliance. But what that certificate of compliance was based on was immigration, that we would, you know, follow all laws, hire and only utilize contractors that obtained I-9s and that kind of thing. So the board, before I started here, this was in place when I started here in 2008. This letter is what that board, the route that that board at the time chose to express their dissatisfaction with that policy of DOLA. We had to file that certificate of compliance in order to receive DOLA or any type of state funding. And it was related to some type of immigration status. But I apologize, I could not find the policies or the laws in effect at that time. But I do know that that's why that letter was approved by the board at that time. And then I believe it stopped approximately 8 or 9 years ago. The board at that time stopped sending that letter. And that is my anecdotal information.
And I was on the board when we talked about that and passed it, and I concur with your anecdote.
Okay.
It was a tough discussion. Before I kind of throw it open to the board members here, I do want to say, we were kind of like, when I proposed the initial thing in our workshop, my intent was to just like put together a clarifying press release type document, and because I'm theoretically the media person for the town. What I just wanted to do was have a clarification of what can we do, what can't we do, what will we do, what won't we do, and just kind of have a press release or handout kind of thing just to clarify the data, like just the real specifics. And so I would like to continue that going through, if you all wish to, and then like a statement of values, if we could maybe put it with that. The mask thing is kind of so the statement of values and the mask question to me are two separate things. So to me, we need to pull this out of one discussion and have it like 3 coordinated discussions, because I think it's 3 different issues. So, having said that, David, what are your thoughts?
I think we're in a bit of a hard spot. I like the draft press release language. In my career, I'm very factual, and I get making a statement on masks. Like you said, it's performative, where it's not actually doing anything. And I struggle with doing something that's not actually doing anything, that's not actually making an effective change. But like I said, I get reading the statement.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I agree largely, David, about kind of being between a rock and a hard spot. I'm really curious to hear from you all, honestly. We usually get 1 or 2 people, so you're clearly not here to just hear us talk. I think that, I'll say it, I have a place of privilege sitting up here, right? As a white person who owns a business, and I think there's probably a lot more opinions we need to hear and kind of integrate. And so I don't know if I have a fully baked opinion, other than I don't want to put the town in jeopardy.
Yeah.
In terms of our sort of basic necessity as a municipality with not a lot of resources. Our budget is fairly tight. We're understaffed right now. We keep the public works running. We keep, kind of the basics of the town functioning, and I don't want to put that at risk. And so that's something that I'm holding in my mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a fully formed opinion on.
Okay, yeah, and we'll talk again
Yeah.
after people have had a chance. Daniel, thoughts before we?
Yeah, so I echo what both of them said, really, for the most part. You know, David, you know, in particular, I'm on that same page of not doing things that don't actually do something. I understand that there is a value to, you know, and inside of this discussion where we lack authority over a lot of the stuff we're talking about, the only thing that I see as something for a small municipal government to address is potentially informing people of how our marshal follows the law and reassuring them that we are following the law, or maybe educating them. But going beyond just some of the stuff that there are a lot of concerns, like with the talk at the church, First Amendment, first sentence in the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting, you know, establishment or whatever. You know, it's the first sentence that I'm you know, not getting exactly right now on the spot, but you know, it's basically not supposed to endorse a religion. Somebody who's you know, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, not religious at all, they shouldn't have to go through those doors to access their government. So that was one thing that stood out to me, that should be done at a different place,
Yeah.
community center, neutral government, building, and then beyond that, you know, I keep going back to the basics we keep talking about, and this is a very big, contentious national political issue. And as you said, we're keeping the lights on, and that's what we're doing here. That's municipal government, and even if we would want to alleviate anxieties of residents, we don't have authority or ability to, and it's not really our role to do some of the stuff. So that's kind of where I lie with it.
Okay, thank you. Corey?
I'm gonna wait and hear.
Okay.
I want to hear most of the public and get a different idea. Kind of echo. I'm in a different, you know, position. For me personally, all four of my grandparents immigrated to this country, so like my family's been here that long.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see. I have, you know, on a grand scale, I guess we have a very limited scope that we can operate in this arena. We are outgunned every way possible in this. We don't have authority over what they do. So finding a way to navigate this, I think, is important. But I'm curious to hear what you have to say before I actually come up with a final decision.
Okay. Andre, do you want to say anything before we?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would echo everything everybody said, that we have a room full of people and really want to hear what they say. But I think we keep coming back to this idea that we can't enforce it, and it's true. Like, it's the federal government in a small town, 1,500. The only power we have is what we say. The only power we have is our voice. So we can say we disapprove of what this administration is doing, because that's the only thing we can do. But if we give up that one thing and we just say, hey, we can't do anything, we give up the only power we have. So as much as I would agree that it really sucks to say this should happen and we can't enforce it, that's the only power we have. And if we give that up, we lose. But that is only my opinion. We have a room full of people here. I'd love to hear what they have to say.
Okay, all right. So I don't know which page was first. So I'm going to start on the back with Katie McClure, because I don't want to forget you later.
No, she
So.
signed up before I did.
Okay, all right, this one, Angela.
I'm doing 5 minutes.
We're going to do 3 minutes, because there's a lot of people. So, name, street address, or physical address, and make sure you're addressing the board and not the audience.
And if I interrupt y'all, that's because I'm going to be the timekeeper. It's not personal. We just need to hear from everybody.
It's
We don't
personal.
want to be here till midnight.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Hello, my name is Angela Saylor. I live at 13492 Road 33, Macon, Colorado. I'm here to talk about the town values regarding law enforcement. First, I think this should be changed to town values regarding federal law enforcement. Because if I have any questions, I ask Marshall Goodall directly. I have no questions for our Mancus Police Department to do anything out of the scope of the law. I just want to make that clear. I don't care if everybody goes back to masks. Like masks, no masks, it makes no difference to me. What I do want to talk about is the conversation that I've had with myself 4 separate times in the last month while driving down 160 towards Mancus. And a car comes up right behind me. The first thing I say, is this person gonna pull me over? If this person pulls me over, I'm going to turn on my hazards and I'm going to continue driving into the town of Mancus where it's safe, where people are around, they can see what can happen. If I turn my hazards on and they follow me all the way to Mancus, are they going to follow me? Or are they going to run me off the road? Or are they going to shoot me before I get somewhere safe? I've never had this conversation with myself living in Mancus, and I have lived in some of the most urban areas that you can think of. And as late as Monday, ICE was in our town on Monday. ICE was in our town on Monday. ICE is in our town 2 to 3 times a week. We have to send out alerts to people in our town to shut their door, to not go to work, to go pick up their kid, because they're terrified. These people are going to talk about a resolution. What I want from you guys is to stand up and say with your whole entire chest, a citizen of Mancus was kidnapped at the beginning of January, pulled over like they were law enforcement, and snatched out of their car. And I want you to acknowledge and say, ICE visits our town 2 to 3 times a week, if not more. And this is happening every day. People aren't going to work. Businesses are struggling. If you guys are focused on bringing money to the community, you need to take care of the brown people that are washing the dishes in the back of these restaurants. You need to take care of these brown people who are working 3 jobs to make this town work. I've never been scared a day in my life in Mancus, but now I gotta get walked to my car when I work at the brewery.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. Zosha? Zasa, sorry. I'm from the Midwest. Take it easy on me. We say things funny.
All right.
Hello, board. My name is Zasha, 13492 County Road 33, Mancus, Colorado. I'm speaking in response to the law enforcement issue. I have a short message today. I used to feel safe walking around town at any time and existing in any space. Now I try my best not to leave my house after the sun goes down, to avoid feeling as if I'm being hunted. In my opinion, this means Mancus is turning into a modern-day sundown town, so do with that what you please. This is not a Marshall issue. This is not a mask issue. If you are scared of the public's opinion for standing up, please reconsider your position on this board. I agree with the resolution that will be presented. Thank you.
Thanks, Sasha.
Thank you. We've got a little arrow indicating Katie.
Kate Wall, 16562 Road 35, Mancus.
You have a P.O. box, don't you?
And I'm also a local business owner.
Okay.
I have spoken to this board in the past.
I'm so sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but could you please repeat your address?
15652 Road 35.
Thank you.
I'm a local business owner and I have spoken to this board in the past regarding ICE in that capacity. Tonight I'm here to speak on behalf of my children. I'm still learning how to speak for my Native kids, and I invite you to be curious and willing to learn through their experience. Becoming their mother cracked open my heart and soul in a way I think only becoming a parent can do. Parents on this board know how it changes you, and I was blessed with the honor and responsibility to parent children living in brown bodies, challenging my own lived experience. So I did what all new parents do. I read and listened to everything I could find written by Black, Indigenous, people of color who are adopted or into foster care with white families. I learned how to have conversations with them about law enforcement interactions, learned the long-term impacts of these traumatic interactions on young people. I learned a lot. I had a lot to learn, not just about the outside world, but within myself. The overlaying message by every author and speaker was that I assumed responsibility in ensuring environments where my kids feel safe in the brown bodies they inhabit, which is why I'm here tonight. Here are the experiences I want you to know about. More than once, I have heard through the gaming station in my living room that ICE is in town. Many of the voices I recognize to be youth living in brown bodies, sometimes Native, sometimes Latino, living in Memphis. And these conversations reflect a belief that the adults of Memphis have neither the will or the ability to protect these children and their families or their friends' families. They speak of how they would run and avoid being detained at any cost. And these are the voices of US citizens. Our young people are afraid of the federal government and what they have seen happening in Minnesota. Long before the recent surge in ICE enforcement, there were concerns by my children's relatives when we were traveling across the reservation to visit. Concerns that were calmed by the information that I, a white woman, would be driving. The color of my skin would allow me to bypass the checkpoints. They don't stop the tourists, just the folks that live on the reservation. One of my kids recently said to me, kids that I go to school with are so wrapped up in the drama of ICE. Why do you think you aren't, I asked. And they said, my life has been so hard and people have always treated me different because I'm Native, and it did something to my soul, and I know I will protect my friends. I appreciate this conversation feels political or like it is happening at the national level, but one of the things I choose to do for my children who have experienced hardship that I will never understand is to imagine and dream of a future that looks different from the systems of the past. It requires me to envision a community where we center the needs of our children, which I truly believe to be the communal value of Memphis. The damage being done by ICE to our children's mental health is already happening. Let's limit it as much as possible, saying that we, the adults, will stand up and say something.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Don't do that, please. It'll just slow us down. All right, Morgan Murray.
My name is Morgan Murray. I live at 10455 Road 39 in Memphis. I'm going to use my time to address the draft press release. The draft press release uses phrasing like community concerns, recent developments, us versus them, without ever actually naming the issue. To be clear, the topic of the proposed resolution is the very real harm and fear that our immigrant and marginalized neighbors, especially people of color, are feeling as a result of the rapid escalation of ICE presence in Memphis. Avoiding this language doesn't make the issue go away, but it will have a profound impact on residents of color and their allies who will view this not as indifference, but as abandonment. We are not saying that we believe the town and the federal government operate on equal footing, as the press release states. We are asking what opportunities and responsibilities exist at the local level to affirm belonging and safety in our community. A power imbalance is not an excuse for inaction. Many of us here advocate for our community despite systemic power imbalance every single day. There are many examples of how municipal leaders across the country have found a way to stand in solidarity with impacted residents while remaining professional and lawful. You wouldn't be alone in taking a stand for constitutionality. The press release emphasized restraint, steadiness, and neutrality as virtues. But for those who haven't been directly impacted, steadiness might feel responsible, but for our impacted neighbors, steadiness is not a choice anymore. People right here in Memphis are living in fear of detention, separation, and violence daily. Their lives have been destabilized. Centering a neutral response in public messaging prioritizes institutional comfort over real response to harm in our community. The press release talks about community strength, values, and protecting the integrity of our existing community. And I agree that these are important commitments, but they require clarity. What values are being upheld? How are these values actually being enacted in this moment? The only tangible action listed in the press release is an informational event with a marshal. What does a constructive space, as listed in the release, look like exactly? Do you feel that impacted and POC neighbors who are too scared to leave their homes will attend an in-person Q&A with law enforcement in a church? If not, then who is this event really serving? Why does the advertisement for this event state if ICE shows up in town when you know that they've already abducted one of our residents? After hearing testimony and public comment, I'd ask you to sit with these questions. Is this lukewarm press release really the solution for a community living in fear? Will it be something you are proud of when you look back at your tenure as leaders of this town? We bring these questions and concerns not to be adversarial, but as our civic duty. We are asking our elected leaders to move beyond generalities towards meaningful leadership in a moment of real consequence. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Morgan.
you. Robin?
Robin 1000, 692 Riverside Avenue.
Could you spell your last name? It's not
Sure,
on the
yeah.
list.
Robin, WOLTHAUSEN.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
692 Riverside Avenue, Mancos, Colorado. Dear Town Board, Marshall, and town employees, thank you for all you do for not enough money to serve our town and our people. I am a school licensed clinical social worker and therapist, a horse packer, and a wilderness guide who has lived here for the last 13 years. I am deeply invested and in love with this community. I want to be clear, there is no question or doubt that ICE is here. They took a young neighbor from right here in Mancos and have taken people in Durango as well. As a result, my brown and black neighbors are scared for themselves, their kids, their families, and to leave their homes. They are experiencing disproportionate fear, scrutiny, and harm in public spaces and interactions with the government, and we need to do more to protect and support them. We have to be honest and face the fact that ICE agents operate very much like a secret police force. They rove streets deciding who belongs and who doesn't, with little training, rules, or oversight. Hiring standards have plummeted, leading to DHS hiring sex offenders and criminals to become agents. Their identities are masked. They use illegal warrants, detain people for longer than legally allowed and without cause. They regularly break the law. They tear families apart. They are legally allowed to racially profile and operate largely above the law with little to no accountability. In ICE detention centers, people are being sexually assaulted, denied adequate medical care, and dying at an alarming rate, and we are sending our neighbors there. This is all to enforce a civil infraction, similar to a ticket you might get from jaywalking or mildly speeding. Imagine if your loved one was deported to a secret international prison just for speeding. That is what is currently happening to immigrant neighbors here in Mancos. Local law enforcement and governments in Durango, Mancos, Cortez, Dolores, and across the nation have shown themselves to be handcuffed and ineffective to protect the privacy, free speech, due process, safety, and other constitutionally enshrined rights of our Black, brown, and immigrant neighbors. Most local law enforcement agencies have not earned the trust of our Black and brown neighbors due to perceived cooperation or passive acceptance of federal immigration actions. As you sit here and consider difficult decisions about what role a small town board can make in the face of these federal actions, I am here to speak to your humanity, your morality, and to our sense of history. Often in historical times like these, people have asked, what can I do? What is right? To answer, I invite all of you to think about what our children will think and ask about what we did during this time when they are grown.
Okay.
And to do more to protect our Black, brown, and immigrant neighbors.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kate Osterloh.
Good evening. My name is Kate Osterloh. I live at 6875 Road 38, Mancos. I'm a mom, a former United States diplomat, and a counselor working with children and adults in this community. As a clinician, I can attest to the environment of fear that has taken a hold for many families here, regardless of their immigration status. I sit with kids who are afraid their parents won't be home when they get home, or that their best friends will disappear overnight. I sit with adults who are trying to function at work while living in a constant state of vigilance. This is not abstract politics. It causes tremendous stress to our bodies, causes insomnia, panic, trauma. When people watch the news of what's happening in our country, the psychological impact is profound, and it changes how the body and the brain function. In my clinical opinion, that kind of sustained fear is deeply destabilizing to individuals and to communities. I've worked in conflict zones in South America, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. I've seen what happens when fear destabilizes communities and strong local leadership doesn't take a stand. That's what I'm seeing happening here in our country and in our community. Safety is not experienced equally in this country right now. Some of us can move through public life without additional calculation and others cannot. When harm is unequal, neutrality is not neutral. Neutrality in the face of unequal harm perpetuates that harm. You're right that the town of Mancos cannot control federal policy, but it does control its own policies, personnel, property, data, and posture. And it has a duty to protect the constitutional rights, dignity, and physical safety of all residents, particularly those that are at heightened risk right now. You say your goal is not to create an us versus them dynamic. I want to be clear. This administration has created that dynamic, not between the right and the left, not between those who are pro-immigration and anti-immigration, but between those of us who are subject to the rule of law and those who are not. The president has said himself that ICE agents operate with impunity. How can any of us be safe if that is the case? Other Colorado municipalities, such as the city of Aurora, have taken a strong stance affirming clear limits on local involvement in federal immigration enforcement consistent with state law and constitutional principles. At this moment in history, that is responsible local governance. And I want to add, as a parent raising a kid here, we elect our leaders not simply to manage controversy, but to inspire us, to give us a vision of who we are as a community, and to create a pathway to belonging for all of us. What message is Mancos sending our kids right now? Do we model courage rooted in our humanity? Or do we model cautious neutrality when some of our neighbors are terrified and we are all being terrorized? As a counselor, I can tell you, psychological terror erodes communities. Strong commitments to dignity, due process, and equal protection strengthen them. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna Loving.
Hello, my name is Johanna Loving. I reside at 665 Bauer Avenue. I'd like to speak on the impact that ICE has had on our community and voice my support for a resolution centering the safety, dignity, and constitutional rights of immigrants, Black and brown residents of the town of Mancos. I'd like to see an affirmation of safety and belonging. That means I'd like to see the town publicly affirm that immigrant, Black, and brown residents belong fully in the civic, social, and public life of Mancos and have the right to exist in public spaces without fear of targeting, harassment, or discrimination. I'd like to see explicit rejection of racial profiling. That means I'd like to see the town prohibit staff, contractors, volunteers, and law enforcement from engaging in actions based on race, ethnicity, language, accent, or perceived immigration status, including but not limited to questioning, stopping, detaining, or reporting individuals absent lawful cause. I'd like to see protection from compounding harm. That means I'd like to see the town recognize that the presence or actions of outside enforcement agencies can compound harm to Black and brown residents. And I'd like to see the town commit to ensuring its own actions do not amplify fear, risk, or trauma. I appreciate you taking the time to hear all of our concerns and hope you will reconsider the drafted press release and pursue a resolution that instills safety and trust in our community.
Thank you. Mimi Gorman.
Good evening, Council, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Mimi Gorman. I live in Mancos at 143 West Grand Avenue, and I'm here to speak on a resolution that we are hoping you'll adopt. I'm a fairly low-key, educated, and mindful resident who has chosen to no longer sit silent. Leading up to this presentation, I read the town's press release, I reviewed the Constitution, particularly the Fourth Amendment. And I cried. I cried for all the reasons that these people have already mentioned. I'm here to ask the town, represented by this council, for 3 actions which will make a clear and public commitment to protecting the constitutional rights of everyone in our community, Black and brown persons, every undocumented individual, every Indigenous person, every child, and all of us. First, I want reassurance from the town and clearly stated that it will not help with civil immigration enforcement unless there is a warrant or court order signed by a judge. This includes not sharing personal information, providing any assistance to federal agents, or detaining any resident. The Fourth Amendment protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures, and our local policies should follow that standard. Second, I want the town to commit that its facilities, equipment, records, and data will not be used to support civil immigration enforcement. Federal agents should not have access to town property or use it in ways that undermine residents' constitutional rights without a warrant signed by a judge. Third, I want the town to provide clear written guidance and training to all staff on how to respond to requests from federal agencies with and without judicial warrants. This is not about interfering with lawful criminal investigations. It's about protecting rights and complying with constitutional standards. By generating clear rules and proper training, residents, employees, and the town itself will be protected from legal risks. In short, I'm asking for 3 things. No assistance with civil immigration enforcement without a judicial warrant. No use of town facilities or data without judicial authorization, and clear written guidance and training to ensure staff follow constitutional standards. Committing to these 3 requests sends a strong message that this town, our council, and our law enforcement officers respect the rights of all residents guaranteed under the Constitution, and that we collectively will support and protect them. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all had excellent timing.
Yeah, you guys are good speakers too.
Raven? Help me.
Hello?
Yeah. There you go.
Hi, my name is Reuven Sinensky. That's REUVENSINENSKY. Don't worry, everyone gets it wrong. I live at 422 Bauer Ave here in Memphis, and I'm here to talk to you about the resolution we're asking you to adopt in lieu of the media statement that, as others have mentioned, does not deliver what we need right now. So I've lived here in Memphis for 2.5 years, not all that long. I've lived all over the Southwest. I chose to live here in Memphis because of how inclusive it is compared to other places in Montezuma County, and today we're asking you to uphold those values. So something that I'd like to see is equal access to services. That means equal access to town services, facilities, programs, meetings, utilities, recreation, and emergency assistance that cannot be conditioned on citizenship, immigration status, or government-issued identification beyond what is legally required. I'd like to see protection of daily civic life. People are scared. People in this town are scared to leave their homes. Not just people that are undocumented. Black and brown people are scared to leave their homes. We need to make sure that the town is protecting libraries, parks, meeting spaces, community programs, essential public spaces, and ensure that these remain accessible and safe to Black and brown residents. Federal agents without judicial warrants cannot come into these spaces. Put that out there for people. I'd like to see recognition of protest as a protected civic activity. That means a commitment that the town recognizes protest and public dissent are lawful forms of civic participation, and do what is necessary to protect protesters. For example, if a protester is threatened in a violent manner, take these threats seriously. I'd like to see limits on law enforcement conduct during protests. That means during protests, law enforcement employ minimal, non-escalatory presence and do not engage in surveillance, intelligence gathering, data collection on individuals solely for participating in lawful protests or for organizing protests. I want to see protection when external enforcement is present. That means a commitment that when external enforcement agencies are present and create heightened fear or risk, the town protects residents' constitutional rights and physical safety and not facilitate external law enforcement objectives in any way. I'd like to see an accessible complaint and review process. That means the town maintains accessible, safe, and non-retaliatory processes for residents to report violations of the proposed resolution, with particular attention to the barriers faced by brown and black residents.
Thank you. All right, Travis?
Hello, my name is Travis Hill. I am currently residing at 30109 in Dolores, 184 Highway. Technically on home, so I apologize. That was kind of weird to be able to say that. But either way, I have been a resident in the area for a little over a year now. However, the reason that I picked this place is because of a friend, Kate, a few other people. They moved here. Kate established Zuma. The community has been very welcoming. It has been very accepting. It's been awesome. I love this community, and to see the fear that some of the people are going through is absolutely insane. And I know we're not making it up because Bad Bunny had to wear a bulletproof vest for a Super Bowl. So there is a problem happening. The requests that we would like to see have been stated up to this point, and the ones that I would like to proceed with is I would like to see public reporting. That means that I'd like to see a commitment that the town shall provide regular, aggregated public reporting on interactions with federal enforcement agencies and on complaints and outcomes related to the proposed resolution. I also want to be clear that my request does not pertain to local law enforcement or masks. I'd like to see the collaboration with other Colorado jurisdictions. That means that I'd like to see the town commit to proactively working with other Colorado municipalities, counties, and state leaders to advocate for federal actions that are lawful, constitutional, and respectful of due process. I'd like to see support of constitutional accountability. That means I'd like to see a commitment that the town supports coordinated efforts, including information sharing, formal advocacy, and participation in legal actions where appropriate that seek to ensure federal enforcement actions affecting residents comply with constitutional and statutory law. I'd also like to see the town commit that a resolution with these commitments shall guide town policy, training, contracts, and conduct, and shall be reviewed periodically to ensure it continues to protect those residents most at risk of harm. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Russ?
My name is Russ Taylor. I live at 572 Glen Court here in Memphis. I've been here about 6 years. I understand the issue you've got with regard to masks, that you've only got a limited amount of jurisdiction over anything that happens with the federal law enforcement. But I also understand that Memphis town employees can't literally fight ICE or Customs and Border patrols. But I do request that we prohibit our town employees from assisting those federal agents in the search for arrest and detention of residents due to their immigration status. Remaining in the U.S. undocumented is not a federal crime. As a matter of fact, it's a civil immigration violation, and that is not a crime. Town residents removed from our town for civil immigration violations could be subject to detention for an undetermined length of time in substandard facilities, abuse, and even death, all without the right of due process. As we've seen in the past year in towns and states across America, we should not enable federal officers to harass, frighten, or victimize Mancos residents. Mancos residents should not have to live in constant fear of arrest. While I believe our marshal does a good job in keeping us safe, this proposed resolution will codify expected behaviors for our current and future all-town employees so that we all feel safer. And given this and the proposed commitments you've heard, I'd like to suggest 2 actions. One is to adopt and maintain written policies that prohibit town employees from arresting or detaining individuals solely on the basis of their civil immigration status. Prohibit the use of town resources for civil immigration enforcement unless required by law, and require a judicial warrant or court order for holding someone beyond their time of release and transferring custody to ICE. That would also go, I would say, with any town employee providing information to ICE agents. I would think a judicial warrant would be required. Immigration, the second action would be immigration status and information sharing, codifying the following practices as permitted by Colorado law. Town employees do not inquire into the immigration status of a given resident unless directly required by law, and sensitive personal data is not collected or shared for civil immigration enforcement purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon?
Hello. You said P.O. Box is fine, right?
No, physical address.
Okay. Shannon Hayslip. My address is 543.5 Bauer Avenue. Hello again, some of you. You thought I was passionate about roosters? Just wait. So I'm going to follow what Russ is saying, and the third thing that we would like to ask is town facilities and access rules. Establish uniform protocols for all town buildings. ICE access to non-public areas requires a judicial warrant. Front desk staff follow a written escalation protocol. Public-facing services, recreation, town offices remain accessible to all residents. Outcome, lawful access control, consistent staff response. Number 4, provide regular training for frontline staff, supervisors, elected officials. Training includes distinction between civil versus criminal warrants, trauma-informed response protocols, maintain required documentation and public posting of policies, outcome statutory compliance, and reduce staff risk. Number 5, community education and support. Partner with local organizations to offer Know Your Rights information sessions. Provide referrals to legal aid and community resources. Instruct language access for all town communications. And number 6, incident response and harm mitigation. Develop a protocol for responding to community trauma, including coordination with schools and service providers. Clear public communication following enforcement activity. Support for affected families within legal limits. And let's see, I think there was oh yes. And number 7, intermunicipal coordination. Collaborate with other Colorado municipalities to share compliant policies and training materials. Align resolutions and best practices. Elevate regional concerns to state leadership. And number 8, state and federal advocacy. Use the town's official vote to advocate for full funding of state mandates, communicate documented community impacts to legislators, and support policies that reinforce due process and public safety. Thank you so much for your time tonight, all of you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. All right, Katie McClure.
Hi, I'm Katie McClure, 6554 Road 41 in Mancos. Many of you know me from my professional comments I've made here in the past, mostly related to belonging and connection in our town. Today I'm here with a related but more personal message. My grandfather immigrated to the US as a child and was unable to become a citizen until he was 70 years old. I was in the room when he did. Like Ada, who was kidnapped here in Memphis, my grandfather lived in the US peacefully, worked hard, and cared for his family. Unlike Ada, my grandfather was white and was able to go on to have children and grandchildren in the US so I could stand before you today. So I could live an amazing life in an amazing town, raising children of my own. I feel an obligation to my grandfather and Ada and my children to fight for the vision our country has that drew us here, liberty and justice for all. And you have made an extreme sacrifice of time to serve as leaders of our community, because I know you want Memphis to be a great place to live for your families and for all those who live here. You each have your own story, I know, that motivates your actions of service. So when I hear testimony from those impacted, both here in the room and on the street, because of my role, I hear it a lot. It breaks my heart to see the pain and fear people endure at the hands of unlawful and unconstitutional, yet state-sanctioned action. We are watching rights and laws we already fought for unravel in real time right now. We have people in our community and friends and relatives who have been following all of the processes our country has asked of them, but now are watching aggressive deportations happening at the very locations they need to go to follow the processes we've given them. And they are now afraid to do so and are thus put in a position of becoming unauthorized. So I will stand up and use my voice to amplify the voices and experiences of those you've heard are too afraid to be here in this room today and to share their stories. This space that you steward is meant to be a safe platform for all community members to connect with you and share their experiences. But that is not the case right now, and you have the opportunity to change that. I know most of you pretty well and invite you to join leaders, mayors, sheriffs, district attorneys all over the country who are using their voices and using the tools at their disposal to fight for what's right. We are not asking you to break any laws. What we are asking, no matter what social media may tell you, is not actually divisive or controversial. It's legal, and in my view, it's a moral obligation. We know that Memphis is not Minneapolis or Chicago. Actually, I'm gonna skip that part. We know ICE is already in Memphis. ICE is expanding quickly. ICE has an active detention center in Durango, very active, by the way. People, kids, families, co-workers who live in the town you have chosen to and have been elected to lead are living in fear daily. What legacy do you want to live? They leave. We have a draft resolution and actions to hand that you can work from, because we know you're busy, and it summarizes a lot of what's been said tonight so far.
Thank you. Make sure that Mercedes gets a copy also. Thank you. Much more readable than my notes. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great.
Very good. Yeah. Valvin Kreitzer?
I'm Balvin Kreitzer. I live at 10455 Road 39 here in Memphis. Tonight, I will be reading a statement from an at-risk community member who does not feel safe to attend this meeting. To the Memphis Town Board, I moved to Montezuma County in 2016 from Salt Lake City, Utah. I have resided in Memphis since 2019, when my husband and I purchased our home here. This land holds a mystic, unique beauty. The land and nature have healed me in ways I did not know were possible, and I am deeply thankful for that. For most of my life, I accepted racism, sexism, and classism as second nature, especially growing up in Salt Lake City, where the disparity in how immigrants are treated is unavoidable. I am a first-generation child of an immigrant father from Mexico, and I spent a large portion of my childhood in northern Mexico with him and my extended family. It is an absolutely pivotal part of who I am and shaped me as a person forever. My mother's parents were Greek immigrants, and she experienced extreme racism as a child. The KKK actively targeted her family, children weren't allowed to play with her or interact with her at school. And my grandpa served for a country who didn't protect him as a Marine in World War II. Back home, we learned early on how to shrink ourselves, to be obedient, charismatic storytellers, to smile even when we wanted to cry, all in the hope of blending in and staying safe. As an adult, I have worked to unlearn that survival mode for my children. When I moved to this county, I understood that being Mexican American in a small rural town would be lonely, but I did not expect that it would feel so unsafe. While working in customer service when I first arrived, I genuinely feared disclosing my race. I heard comments daily such as, "What are you? I can tell you're not from here, and what is your accent?" I changed how I dressed, the jewelry I wore, and even bought lighter complexion makeup during my first few years here. I felt embarrassed when coworkers analyzed my homemade Mexican food in the break room, so I began bringing blander meals or eating in my car. My boss, who was a Trump sympathizer, repeatedly and carefully attempted to probe my political beliefs. Now attempting to start my own business, I've seen firsthand the exclusion, judgment, and lack of credibility some community members have here because I'm Mexican American. I recently lost 20 followers disclosing I'm Latina-owned business on Instagram as one example, and I cried the night I attended the Cookout's annual harvest event, feeling so much relief at faint possibility of not having to figure this out alone here anymore. I found some solace and friendship with the Diné community members who taught me how to dust myself off, trust no one, and never let them see me cry. So much so that my son carries one of my late best friend's name, and this holds significant value in Diné beliefs. Still, I deeply long for my own culture. I miss the markets, the smell of fresh tortillas, the loud music, the belly laughs, colorful events, and the family structures. I miss everything. I've had so many moments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kira Taylor.
She had to go home.
Oh, did she? Bedtime for the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Or for her? Either way. Shayna.
I didn't prepare.
Oh, okay. If you want to wing it, go for it. You got 3 minutes.
I'm Shayna Boover, 643 Riverside Avenue in Memphis. As I said, I didn't prepare anything to speak, but I am here to support everyone. I have so many Black and brown loved ones, and it is painful to watch them fear for their lives. Anything that we can do to make them feel safe is worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all who signed up that I have. Did anyone else want to speak before we hear from?
Go ahead now, Mayor.
Oh, no. Does anybody else want to speak? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I appreciate this being a discussion item. I know it's an important topic to many people. First of all, I want to go back over with the board and our audience. The Marshal's Office follows the following rules when it comes to immigration, and these are state, and this is what we're governed by as the Marshal's Office. Senate Bill 21-131, Senate Bill 25-276. State and local agencies are prohibited from sharing non-public personal information for federal immigration law enforcement unless required by a warrant, subpoena, or court order. Anti-intimidation, House Bill 21-1075. It is illegal to threaten or report somebody for the immigration authorities to coerce them into or prevent them from doing something lawful. House Bill 23-1100. Colorado restricts local, state, and law enforcement from working with ICE or entering into a detention agreement. Those are also within our policies. So we have a lot of these enacted. The mask idea was mine. It was something I thought that was obtainable and simple for us to do. Based on public comment, doesn't seem like it's needed. I'm trying to work with not only the board, but the public's sentiment in this very stressful time. one thing that I've done, and I will protect the citizens that I've spoken to, is I'm going word of mouth to the Hispanic community. I do have translation services available to speak with them. I'm going through trying to get to the community that they are welcome at our office. I'm trying to prevent them from becoming victims of crimes because they are scared. The only way I know to do that with that community is by word of mouth, one at a time. And it takes a lot to build the trust and get there. My Spanish is limited, but I do have options. And Trustee Hinnick, I understand your concern about the church. My idea there was I'm looking for sanctuary, and I know that the community that I'm trying to get to probably won't show up. And I'm also cognizant of separation of church and state on that.
Was this felt like a risk to you personally?
As long as I'm not a government, so much speaking
You're
as a
outside the
government
scope of
actor.
employment.
Yeah, as long as I stay within my scope, I should be fine.
Yeah, it just looked like a kind of a
and
tightrope to walk.
Yeah, I'm used to it, unfortunately.
I'm sure you are.
But I just know I want to support the board and the town to the best of my ability. And, any feedback you guys have for me, I'm all ears. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you already have a lot of these in the policies, that they're in state statute. Yeah. So, thank you.
Yep. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Cindy?
Yeah, Heather.
I apologize. I also would ask Justin to remind the audience about the public meeting that he's holding on February 18th. And they are welcome to come and ask the questions or some of the questions that they've asked regarding, what's legal, what's not, what do we do. But and maybe ask Justin to pass that information along to this group in case they want more information.
Okay.
So I'm working with the Methodist Church February 25th at 6 p.m. We're having a meeting for the public, trying to do it at a more safe space for everybody that normally won't come to a board meeting or the community center. Just looking at different options, the 18th, sorry, the next Wednesday. So I got too many dates on my mind, I'm sorry. But it's not going to be much different than what I talked about here tonight. But I am trying to spread the word that we don't work with immigrations and we can't. We have limited resources how we can report, but we follow those. So I'll get more into that in the public forum.
Thank you. What time is that?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a lot.
Yeah, we really should.
What's that?
No, it's just clap.
Oh, clap. Relieve some of that tension, right? Okay, so what do you guys want to do? You want to
talk
make
about
any
it for a little
decisions
bit.
tonight? Do we need to workshop this quickly?
Well, I mean, we can't be handed a resolution and pass it.
Yeah,
that's not governance
Right,
right
it's
there.
not on
So
the
we
agenda.
obviously have to discuss this more.
Yeah. Okay. Corey?
I think we need to work on this. Honestly, it gave me a couple different ideas because initially I was very leery of what language to put into this, knowing, and obviously we're privy to some stuff like understanding how the marshal office operates, what they can and can't do. We've had these discussions. That may not be clear, obviously. for the general public. There's a lot of these things that are on here that are already governed. So figuring out ways to navigate that. Thank you for this, whoever did that. Because that was going to be my question. Does somebody have a breakdown of all of those things so we can work on it? But I think we need to work on this, and I think there is something that we can put together language-wise that will defend more of how we stand, what the public is looking for, and also with everybody understanding, we're limited in what we can and can't do, what the marshal can and can't do, but this is definitely a move in the right direction.
Yeah, I would echo what they said, that I think between this that we got and what we originally came up with, we're going to meet it in the middle. We're going to do our best to try to do that. And I think that's a discussion that we're going to have on this board. Just being fully transparent, the reality is what we come up with isn't going to make everybody happy, and that's okay, but we're going to do what we can given the restraints we have. But I do want to reiterate again, there's what we can and can't do, and there's what we can say. And I really do think that we're in a moment right now where we can speak out against what's happening because it's inhumane, while also recognizing the law is the law, and it's going to handicap us. But I think the moment we give up our voice is the moment we let hate win, and we can't let that happen. So I want to read this, and I want to find a middle ground. So if it's community input that's needed more, keep showing up, keep talking.
Yeah. Yeah, and for the folks that didn't make it all the way through what they wanted to say, come on back. Come to our next meeting. We always have the public comment whether something is on the agenda or not. Okay. Nick.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. I think first off, it's a huge eye opener. I'll be honest. I feel really humbled by what I'm hearing and pretty emotional about it. I think, point blank, I drafted that language in the press release, and then someone else, town staff, ran it through AI to clean it up. It was met with the best of intentions to try to create a path for the town. And I'm going to just own that I think I missed the ball. So just want to own that for you guys. There's a lot more to this. I think I'm realizing my life is fairly compartmentalized, and there's a lot of voices that aren't being heard. And I think that that's really important. So I want y'all to come to the meetings. I want y'all to interact with the town. You represent a voice that, like I said, we usually have one or two people a night if we're lucky. And there isn't a lot of interface. And so we make decisions kind of a little bit in a silo, a little bit alone. We obviously are in the community. We talk to people. We live in the community. But it doesn't always show up in policy. It doesn't always show up here. And so, yeah, I think it was a very powerful evening. My intention was just to come in and listen. And yeah, I got my world rocked. So thank you. And there's a lot to consider, a lot to think about. I appreciate the kind of clean language. I need to process all this. And to Daniel's point, we don't make decisions. Like, we can't just be handed something and approve it. We have to go through a process. So this will probably be on the next agenda as well. But yeah, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing kind of just what's true for you. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
One, echoing everything. I like the idea of having a supportive statement, like going back to the certificate of compliance. That was fairly strong language, which I love that. On the resolution, I completely agree with what this says. It has got to be verified for legal implications, etc. I would kind of like to see this compared against existing policies that the town has. And I don't know that there's necessarily a need to reiterate existing policies, but
yeah,
stating support, and I completely agree with it.
Yeah, and I echo that in terms of not repeating things that are already in our policies, because the more places we put them, the more places we have to remember to modify when,
I was just going to say other examples of statutory towns that are doing this. Can we also get, this would probably be for you, Mercedes or Heather, but
yeah,
can we get some draft resolutions from other towns that share some of the language so we can compare it to what we've been handed? as you say, split the difference and try to figure out what's going to work for us. But I'd just be curious what's out there. I don't feel like I have a good reference point.
Yeah, I can reach out on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Specific.
Yeah, and it just statutory towns, because I know like home rule, I think Aurora, Durango, they're going to have a totally different. There's two types of towns in Colorado. One is statutory, one is home rule. And so we're a statutory town, so we're obligated to state statutory laws. Home rules can create their own set of laws, and so we have to kind of follow that path.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to say that thank you all for your input tonight. Just like my fellow trustees said, it takes a lot to come up and stand in front of a microphone and hear your voice through the speakers, and just the physical speaking to us can be scary. So I really appreciate you all coming and letting us know your thoughts. We'll take a look at all of this and we'll see what we can come up with. It may take us a little while, but because we have to do it in publicly noticed meetings and things like that. Yeah. Again, thank you for coming, and we'll see what we can come up with. All right, that was our discussion. From the sound of everybody's comments, we're probably not going to have any sort of decision tonight. And so we'll take all this under advisement and we'll see what we can work out. Items for February 25, 2026 meeting. We've got a workshop that I think we've already determined. Let me ask you guys. So we have the tax rebate policies and we have this issue.
Back to basics.
Yeah.
Town economics.
Okay, so do we want to have the one that we already assigned to next time, the rebate, and then do this the following time?
Can we call a special workshop for this? I feel like this is timely enough that I don't want to push it 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's a long time out there. I feel like the tax incentive piece. I mean, we're gonna
next Wednesday.
Yeah, give Sonia access we talked about still to this program potentially, depending on how we word it.
Yeah.
So it's not as timely as what is present for this. So a special workshop, sure.
I think that's probably the best option.
Okay.
Or just switch workshops.
Or just switch workshops. That seems maybe a better option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say switch workshops, get to this one next, and then tax incentive on it.
Yeah.
That would be my vote.
Okay. Heather, any ideas?
I think that we can do economic development incentive discussion at a workshop, because don't forget your workshops are only a half an hour.
Yeah.
So I will absolutely defer to you all, but I think you need to give yourself enough time. And I can do my best to keep the next agenda light. I don't believe we may have one short public hearing from the Planning Commission, but I don't have anything heavy on the agenda right now. So your workshop is limited to a half an hour. Your board meetings last as long as you need. So I would keep that in mind when you're making your decision.
Okay. So let me ask this. If we had our half-hour workshop on the rebate policies, and then we have whatever meeting items we have, and then can we go back into a new workshop and talk about the resolution that we've just been presented and our thoughts on it?
You absolutely can. We would need to notice a special workshop.
Yeah.
So we can either do it that day, we can do it the next day, we can schedule one or both of these for special workshops. You can have a special workshop to discuss in detail items that may take a little bit longer and save your board meetings for, town business decisions if you wish.
Okay.
But we can also schedule a workshop to start at 5 instead of 5:30 and give you an hour.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
An hour.
Okay. For this?
For this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. And we need to, for a workshop, we just need 24-hour notice?
That's correct.
Okay.
So you all can think about it, or Cindy, you can think about it and let me know. I have another week or two, a week and a half before I have to get out the next agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So you have some time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So a lot of options here.
Mm-hmm.
So what are y'all thinking in terms of when and how and?
So just to be clear on the options are sequencing the meetings, or the workshops, how long the workshops are, whether it's in a meeting or a workshop. Yeah. I like the idea of putting it in into the meeting as a discussion item.
Okay.
Because then it gives us that full width, the half hour or the hour special notice seems kind of like we're trying to shove it in, which still allows us to do the stay on back to basics, do the workshop.
Yeah,
I think the way things went down, I don't want to see them waiting for a long time for us to get back to it.
Sure, we can't keep our eye off the ball, right? We need to kind of keep the town business in motion too. So I think putting my instincts are to put the tax rebate piece into the workshop and then put this discussion into the agenda.
Okay.
As just a discussion, not something we're voting on.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to because there's going to be changes, right? So I don't know if we can.
Yeah, there's going to be changes. We're going to review it. We're going to have comments.
Yeah, but we're going to have it reviewed by attorney. But I don't know if we can do that all in one.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I'm thinking what we can do is, and it just depends on how y'all feel, is we do the workshop on the rebates before the meeting, and then we have our meeting, we adjourn the meeting, and then we have a workshop where we can, instead of being all out here weird, we can sit around the table and pencil some things out.
No, that works for me.
So, but it could all be on the same night.
Yeah, do it on the same night.
Yeah,
I think that's the key is getting to both things quickly. That's important.
Making sure we have enough time.
Because there's always going to be that natural lag time of the 2 weeks.
And it keeps us on a meeting night that people would anticipate us meeting. So, yeah.
And we've heard a lot.
Yeah.
And so doing it at a workshop feels okay. Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah, workshop sandwich.
Okay.
Sandwich.
I'll be on shift next week, but I'll put together all of my thought. Yeah, and I can't get out of teaching. All day for the academy, so I don't have a choice. Coming out that night, I can't call in sick after being at the tower all day.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a bad look.
And then come back to work the next morning.
Yeah. A smoke inhalation. Yeah. Okay. Daniel, sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll do that. Okay. Did you get all that, Heather?
So we're going to have an economic development incentives workshop. We're going to have a standard meeting, and then we are going to discuss next steps on resolutions or whatever direction you all choose to go in.
Yeah, some kind of a statement, and so we'll adjourn the public meeting, and then we'll have our workshop.
That works. So I will advertise it as a special workshop, but it will be on the day of our standard board meeting. So hopefully, hopefully our citizens understand our attempts at transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also, the workshop, we sit at that table and we discuss, but it's not interactive.
Yeah.
So you can listen, you can be in the room, but we don't, it's just kind of the board working together. So just putting that out there. It is an attempt at transparency. You're welcome to be here, sit in the room, listen, but it's just the board working together.
Yeah. And so if you or your friends have anything else you want to add, get an email or letter to our town administrator, Heather Alvarez, and between now and our next meeting.
2 weeks.
And then that way she can provide that to us. Okay?
Well, that and then in a discussion at the next meeting, you could have that as well. If there's
Yeah.
anything else you come up with before.
That's true.
We go into the workshop.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a great point. You can do public comment at the meeting. It just won't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll
Yeah.
be 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So we have our workshop sandwich figured out. And we'll have our consent agenda, which right now has February 11, 2026 minutes. Committee reports that may come in between now and then. A recycling discussion. And a rooster band, Shannon. A discussion. We're going to talk about it, see what we come up with. Not to henpeck anyone. All right. So I would now entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All righty. We are. Thud. We are adjourned.